you for coming here for the launch of this, I would say, one of the most important books we've had. And of course, when the book came, it came as a surprise for me because you see, Babar Ayaz, the author of this book, had been a colleague of mine for many years in Dawn. And as I say, that we sat under the same roof of Harun House. And I just knew Babar, and of course also, I mean, he was writing on financial, he was basically a financial journalist, as you can say, writing about economic affairs, commerce, and I always associated Babar with that. So now when I saw the book, it suddenly came as a surprise, but I think it's very important because when I read the book, I felt that I think each and every person in this country should read that book. And I hope it is available here, although it's a thick book and in this day of sound bites when people don't want to read very thick books, but it's gripping, it's important, and it brings you back to what is actually happening here and what can be done. So the book is basically about, as the title says, what's wrong with Pakistan. And Babar has listed a number of issues which I feel are very appropriate. And when you read the book, you feel that Babar is actually saying what you have been feeling or thinking, but maybe haven't really focused on it. What he has done after a lot of research, he's put in a lot of research. If you just see, the book is very well documented. All the sources are given. So it's not that what we journalists are famous for, but just saying the sources said this or without giving names. So that way, Babar has not been a very good journalist. He's given his sources. And amongst all the issues which he said, which I feel is the most important, is the role of Islam at present in Pakistan, which he's really analyzed that historically. And I think I should let Babar say more about it because I feel a book which has been written with passion, as this book has been, it can best be explained by the author himself or herself. But Babar, first of all, I would like you to tell us that how come you were writing about commerce and economics and you suddenly decided to write about this, which is more political and even social, I would say. So over to Babar.
Thank you, Zubeida. Actually, you see, Zubeida, when I started writing, I was mostly writing on politics in the early 70s. And it was just by chance, you can say, that I ended up in writing more on economic side, because I used to, on the side when I was in Sun, report somewhere on that, just out of that, okay, we need a story and something interesting came to my way. But then when the Sun closed down, I had no job, and the job was offered to me by Business Recorder. So I became, like all journalists are generalists also. So I became the economic writer, self-styled economic writer. And then when Dawn started to make those pages, so they invited me and to put me in the team under a very able leadership of Mr. S.G.M. Badruddin. So I joined Dawn and started writing that. But before that, I was writing on politics and international affairs. I was perhaps the only journalist here who wrote that the Soviet forces will come in Afghanistan in September 1979, 78, and after that the Soviet forces came. So I used to write on these issues because politics is my main subject. And then, after I left Dawn, I started writing again on politics. And that's why this book comes about. But the question is, you see, politics is basically nothing without political economy. And as far as the book is concerned, the main issue is that there is so much going wrong. And for the last 65 years, we have not been able to put anything or whole house in order. So we are living in a dysfunctional state, as we all know. So it's not that this just happens. As a student of political theory and Marxism and Adam Smith and all that, what I learned that the basic question to be asked is why? Why this is happening? So in search of that, what I did was this book. The usual narrative in Pakistan is that India is doing it. I was even amused at leading ex-diplomats telling us that India will not let us do that and all those things. Or there is an American conspiracy. But nobody is talking about what's wrong basically with us, that's why we have reached here. So this book is basically trying to find that basic answer, that major factor which actually affected Pakistan. And that is, in my view, is that religion was exploited to take actually for the secular demands. The secular demands of the Muslims of India were that they wanted more autonomy in the provinces where there is a Muslim majority, and they wanted more jobs and share in the parliament where there was this Muslim minority. Now this is all documented actually. These were the secular demands. Nifaz-e-Shariat was never a secular demand because we were not less Muslims in India as we are today. So that was not an issue. But then when the masses had nothing to do with these two demands, those were middle class and upper middle class and Muslim elite demands. To bring the masses in, the religion was exploited. Now, when you exploit religion, so my basic thesis is that end do not justify the means. Because when you make a political formulation, it has its own dialectics. And the means then start, once you achieve that end, the means start dictating towards another end. And that we are seeing now. Because we exploited religion, that's why we came to a present point that after the Pakistan was made, we continued to exploit religion for the benefit of the ruling establishment. We exploited religion to deny the rights of the nationalities. We exploited religion to continue a kind of an animosity with India, and hence we made the country a security state. And so all our major issues, and economics is related to that. All this affects the economy. So all those major issues actually which are affecting us, the basic underlying factor even today when we are all talking about Talibanization, and you see, I have just written an article a few days back that the government is saying that we will talk within the constitution, but the constitution has a window, or rather a French window, which can allow the Taliban to come in. Because there are clauses which can allow what they are suggesting can come in. So all that has happened because in the first place, from 1937 onward, we exploited religion for making political gains, and that was the mistake of our establishment and the ruling classes.
Babar, in your book, you also mentioned that we haven't been able to, our leadership especially, has not been able to understand the people of Pakistan, the diversity of the population. Even in 1971, when Bangladesh, or East Pakistan as we called it, was there. And of course, religion has been used all along, as you mentioned just now. My question is that how do the people feel about religion? Because that appears that the people are very religious-minded and they'll just jump to those who want religion?
No, actually my view is that people of Pakistan are by and large conservative Muslims. But when you look at the results of the election, they don't vote for religious parties. They don't vote on religious slogans. So that shows that, again, they vote for their secular needs, which are more mundane and all that. And that is even today when people say that, you see, the religiosity has increased, of course, I think instead of increased, it is more pronounced. It is more, because they do a blast, and so it comes with a bang to us. But at the same time, there is another narrative where people are moving forward and living a kind of a secular life. If these people, the Taliban by itself, when they use the gun or when the Islamism champions use the gun, what does that prove? That proves that they are not in majority. It proves that they don't have a rational argument about their case. Only those people pick up the gun who can't talk the language of rationality.
So in that case, first of all, it means that whoever has power can promote whatever they want. And you speak about the role of the army in Pakistan. And would you like to comment on that? Something?
Yes, my chapter is, army has a country. So in Pakistan, because of the factor on the basis on which it was made, right from the very beginning, we started begging the Americans to give us the arms. And our purpose was to equip ourselves against India. The Americans' purpose was that we should serve them to stop the socialism in this area. And this agenda was set in by Muhammad Ali Jinnah himself. So, so it is no magnificent delusion, as my friend Hussain Haqqani writes. Both knew what they were doing. And as a result, it became a security state, and the army started getting more powers and dictating the foreign policy and the national security policy of Pakistan. And as I have mentioned in the book, that when I tried to search, there's too much talk about national security. There's very little written material on national security which I could find. And I've talked to many generals, I talked to many people, serving, retired. There are no documents which can be described that these are national security documents. Only a couple of books I could dig them out at the British Library. So that shows that because they have kept it fluid with themselves, and they have never allowed the civilian government to get into this realm. That is a sacred zone. So, as a matter of fact, the policies are decided at GHQ. Previously, they would not accept it. But long time back in a television program, I made a foreign secretary say that yes, this policy was decided in the GHQ, not by us. So those who are honest enough, they say it. Those who are still trying to play the game of intelligence and the GHQ, they are still, we have heard in the last 2 days, the narratives which are coming basically official except for one or two, from the GHQ sort of thing.
Now, I think actually the time is also short, but
Yeah.
One thing about the book which I really liked was, or maybe that is because it's more wishful thinking on our part, that it ends on this note that you do not consider Pakistan to be a failed state yet, I would say. And so I think we would like to hear something from you of why you think that Pakistan can still succeed, and also something about that your chapter on secularism, where you plead for a secular state. So,
Yeah. In the first place, you see, though the title said what's wrong with Pakistan, and in India somebody said that, we went there and a television invited me and Mr. Javed Jabbar to have a discussion. And they said, now we have from Pakistan, Pakistan versus Pakistan. You know how the TV anchors try to play it. And so I said, sorry, it's not Pakistan versus Pakistan. We are just presenting two sides of the same coin, and a different point of view. So don't make it, so dangerous that I go home and get arrested. So, the thing is that basically there are lots of good things which have also happened. And they keep on happening, because my belief is that politics, economic prosperity, and all these things have their own historical evolutionary system, and they move in a particular direction. So things happen sometimes for wrong reasons, sometimes for right reasons. But for instance, the first time we had the 18th Amendment, which resolved an issue to a great extent, which was 64 years was a major issue on which we lost East Pakistan. You know, but I have always used the word that Bangladesh was liberated because we used it as a colony. But you see, so issue of provincial autonomy was to a certain extent resolved in the 18th Amendment. NFC award was changed to a certain extent to the satisfaction of the smaller provinces. Now this happened. And this didn't happen just because people became good-hearted. Just, it happened because the whole politics is changing. Pakistan election results which come in since 1970 have shown that people are throwing local leaderships. Like Sindh has a different leadership and Punjab has a different leadership and different provinces give different leadership. And now that the need of making a coalition government provides and this has happened in India also, the Indian constitution is more centralist than us. But need for making a coalition, you have to give more to the provinces, to those parties. And that's how the 18th Amendment came in, or the NFC award came in. So these are the positive signs, one. Two, again, as people have said, and still people fear, my contention is that right now, the army which used to throw the government out, the bloody civilians, they need politicians, the same bloody civilians, because there is such a fix in the region that they need them to bail them out. And this, for instance, if you see, when Osama was killed, it was a security failure, it was an intelligence failure. What happened? We did not discuss that. They used their own set of my colleagues in journalism and their own set of politicians, and the whole discussion in the parliament changed into violation of sovereignty by America. Nobody talked about what were you doing, sir, for which you are paid. So you see, that is the reason they need us. If they want to stop the NATO supply to pressurize America, a military general cannot do it because they say that you are the one to decide, please decide. So the Americans would love to deal with the military general. But these people, they need that they can say that people are not willing to do it. And a very interesting thing in this which I came across, till today, as we know, we try to make the Americans afraid of the public opinion in Pakistan. That you do this, otherwise people are against you, you'll do this, that. And incidentally, while I was researching for the book, I found a letter written by General Ayub Khan in 1954 to the Americans that you are not giving us as much as we want. And you see, there is a democracy, people will know already America is not like, there will be a lot of confusion. So we are putting the people of Pakistani, fear of Pakistani people in the hearts of Americans since 1954, which even we are doing today, that you see, we put some mullahs on the street, defy Pakistan and all that, and we said either them or us. And then the Americans, okay, take us, this thing from us. So it's basically the same game going on.
Kind of a blackmail, you can say. Should we take a few questions from the floor?
Yes, if we have time.
To know how much.
Yes, the gentleman from here. Let's start from here. Sorry, I will be doing this because, Zubeida doesn't want to do this.
Don't you think that by supporting secularism implies that lack of trust in the institution of religion to provide efficient governing system?
Yes, I would say that very straightforwardly. You see, religion, when you bring it into politics, it is divisive. You need a pluralistic society. And also, with religion comes certain form of living and the value system. Now, when the religions came, this conflict is not only in Islam, it is in all religions right now. When the religions came, the time frame was different. 2,000 years back, in our case, 1,400 years back and all that. So the value system which comes with that, why you are not willing to accept the Sharia which the tribal Waziristan man says? Because that value system and the value system of the 21st centuries are completely different. You are living in an industrialized capitalist society, and that was completely a tribal society not even a developed business at that point. So these are two different time frames and two different space. So you cannot run a modern system in that. And religion, when you bring it in politics, it divides the people, and you cannot deal with, because that is the issue, that when you bring it in, then the next question is asked, okay, which type of religion? Because religion has many interpretations. And that's why, the other day, very rightly said by my friend Muhammad Hanif, that if you are a Sunni Punjabi male, your lifespan is twice that of a Shia. Yes, sir, there, at the back.
On one hand, so you say we shouldn't mix religion and politics, but unfortunately the situation in Pakistan today is that religion is politics, in the sense that religion has become our identity, our unifying factor. If you take that factor away, what will hold Pakistan together? What is the, why should Sindh be with Punjab if not for religion?
Okay, sir. May I ask, what is holding India together? They are not using religion as a factor. What is using so many countries, which are other countries, together? And religion is not a binding force. If religion was a binding force, then why the Muslim countries are separate countries? Why Bangladesh walked away? Why the Balochis are fighting to get out? So it's not a binding force. That's a mistake to understand.
No, I agree, but what's the reverse? What is the binding force between us?
Yeah, okay. The reverse is that the state has to be secular, one. Two, it has to be democratic. And when I say democratic, I mean in the true sense. It's not only democracy, one man, one vote. It is the democracy between the nationalities living in a particular country. Because you are a multinational state, you have to first accept that. The moment we say that we are one and Muslim nation, and right now, and on that basis, then that means we are denying that nationalities exist. And that's what we did after Pakistan. And that's what we suffered up till now, and we are suffering in Balochistan and to a certain extent in other provinces.
I want to ask this question, which bothers me a lot. If we go back in history, we find out that Jinnah Sahib was a very secular man. But then why did he choose religion to save Pakistan?
You see, Jinnah being himself personally a secular man is something else. But political expediency of Jinnah is something else. As I said, when in 1937 we lost the elections, and Muslim League did not win the elections. So after that, all the peers and all the religious leaders were, wooed to build up the religious frenzy among the people. So he accepted that, and he made many speeches like that also. We'd only quote, one or two speeches which he made, the 11th August speech, and then 11th August speech is a reversal of, that was the real Jinnah, actually. Before that, there were lots of speeches in which he has given so much which the Sharia people can quote. So what has happened, that after achieving the end, he thought he can change the course. That's my basic argument. That if you make a political formulation, it will have a logical answers or dynamics to move in a particular direction. Now, obviously, these people were politicians. They were not political scientists to think about it, that what would be the consequences of exploiting religion. You see, we exploited religion in Afghanistan case by making mujahideens, and the Americans are very happy about it. Look at the foolishness of Americans. They use religion again and again, to exploit the political gains, and at the end of the day, what happens? That same mujahideens stood up and against Americans. In Cuba, they made the Christian militia, which used to go from Honduras to attack when the revolution came. It was Kennedy who said, don't play with fire, and he said, don't make the Christian militia. There was a gentleman at the back, there.
Babar sir, we are short of time.
I think.
Okay, last question,
we'll,
please.
Actually, there's one more.
Last question to that gentleman. To that gentleman, last question. And while you are giving the mic, the book is available at the Liberty store, and I would be available to sign it if anybody wants to buy it, and they
My
have not
question is
bought it
that,
already.
as we can see that the current political government is hesitating to take strict
Sorry, I
action.
can't understand you.
My question is that current political government is hesitating to take strict action against militants. It may be because of the fear that they are still thinking that military establishment will still play a good Taliban, bad Taliban drama again. So that's why they are hesitating to take strict action. Nawaz Sharif.
I think I agree with you. Yeah, we are already doing that because we want to take action only against those particular set of jihadi organizations which are challenging the writ of the military of Pakistan, not others, which will eventually also challenge the thing. You know, the one India specific jihadis will also challenge them sooner or later, but that would be in Punjab. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And well, I think maybe the session being short has one advantage, that you will please go and buy the book and find out more things yourself, because there's much more in the book than just this.